Good morning, everyone. And just before we get started, I'd like to remind you that you will have the chance to raise questions at any point of the session. You can ask it in the chat box, and we'll be answering them at the end of the session. I'd like to introduce our speaker of the day, Dr. S. Manjula Gandhi ma'am. Manjula Gandhi ma'am has 20 plus experience in Coimbatore Institute of Technology, and she's also a Qiskit advocate. She worked on quantum graph theory and quantum graph theory algorithms, and she has also worked on quantum circuits during her research. She is currently playing the role of Qiskit translation lead for translating the Qiskit textbook in Tamil language and works on quantum open source projects as a part of Advocate Mentorship Program. Welcome, ma'am. Without any further delay, let's start the session. Ma'am, please take over, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you, Nandana, and I welcome all the participants. And if you're having any questions at any point of time, you can do ask us, or you can put it in the the text chat box. And let me share my screen. Yeah, hope my screen is visible. So this event is actually we are organizing it as a part of Qiskit Fall Fest events, which is held globally in various universities and institutes, and CIT is one among them. And as of my session here, I'll be taking off with quantum circuits and quantum gates. So my agenda for today is what do we mean by quantum computers? What is the transition from bits to qubits? And why we are moving on to a quantum system. We'll see an example for it. And the next part is I'll be looking into the reversible circuits or the quantum circuits and why we say it is reversible and so on. And then I'll be introducing you to how to work on with IBM's Qiskit. And you can run your experiments using simulators and on real quantum devices using Qiskit. And the next part is we'll be looking into how to represent qubits in various representations. We'll be looking into single qubit gates, multi-qubit gates, and two more examples of quantum circuits like quantum entanglement and GHZ circuit. So what is a quantum computer? It is a type of computer that uses quantum mechanics so that it can perform certain kinds of computation more efficiently than a regular computer can. So as Dr. Venkat was saying, it uses different types of principles like superposition, entanglement, and so on.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry to interrupt, ma'am. So, can you present, ma'am, so that it is more visible?
Yeah. Once.
Thank you.
Fine.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Yes, yes. So we use quantum mechanics principle to work on using quantum computers. And then normal computers are systems which we are using. We have either 0 or 1. We call it as a bit, where at one particular time you can be in state 0, or in another state you can be in state 1. Whereas when we are talking about quantum computers, we look into quantum bits, where not just 1 or 0, we can be anywhere between 0 and 1, and at the same time we can also be in 0 and also at 1 at the same at one particular point. So these are the advantages of quantum bits actually. So in a classical computers, we use either 1 or 0. So at a particular time, we can be in state 0 or we can be in state 1. Whereas moving on to a quantum system, we work on data units called as qubits, where we represent using a direct notation called as bracket notation, which is used in quantum mechanics. So we represent a 0 using this notation and 1 using this particular notation. So we have an upper 0, an upward arrow, pointing it to called as 0, and we have a downward arrow in our block sphere representing it as 1. And as I said, we can be anywhere between 0 and 1. So in any arbitrary state xi can be written as some combinations of zeros and ones, where we have the mod of C1 square plus mod of C2 square, which is the squares of our amplitudes. They have to sum up to 1. So that is only restriction which we have. And any valid state can be represented here. It can be anywhere between 0 and 1. So moving from our classical bits to quantum bits. So let us look into an example. We'll consider a particular scenario where we are running a travel agency, say for example an ABC travel agency, where there are 3 people. They have to travel using 2 cars. So we have friend pairs among the people, and there are also enemy pairs. So the idea is we have to use these 2 taxis to make these 3 people travel using the taxis, and we have to go for finding the combinations where the friend pairs share a car. So that is the idea. So we represent taxi 0 as 0 and taxi 1 as 1 here. So we'll have 8 different ways in which we can represent them. So we can take ABC. So this is person A, person B, and person C, choosing taxi 0, all 3 choosing taxi 0 for the first configuration. And the next one, A and B are choosing taxi 0, C is choosing taxi 1. A and C are choosing taxi 0, and B is choosing taxi 1 in this case. So the first 3 cases which I've shown you. We are actually calculating a score here. The score is the configuration score, which is actually calculated using the number of friend pairs sharing the same car minus the number of enemy pairs sharing the same car. So we'll have here, so when I'm considering the second example, the friend pairs we have 1 and enemy pairs we have 0 here. So it is 1 minus 0. The configuration score of this particular way of representing or say using the cars for these people to travel is A and B are choosing taxi 0 and C is choosing taxi 1. So we have a configuration score of 1. Similarly, if A and B is choosing taxi 1 and C is choosing taxi 0, we'll have a high configuration. So we will choose all the configurations which have a high score, which gives us a high score, rather than the ones which we drop out the ones which we don't want. So this is the idea. So if we are running this in a classical machine, we have 8 different ways for three people to travel in 2 different cars. So assume if I'm going to increase the number of people, so we have now 4 different people. So the combinations are given it as again we have starting from all 2 to the power 4, 16 different ways we have. So we have to calculate the configuration. Again, the same principle is applied here. So the number of friend pairs, we added some more restrictions saying these people are friends and these cross indicates that they are enemies. So you have to choose them to travel in these 2 cars using the number of friend pairs minus the number of enemy pairs sharing the same car. So it is very difficult for us to calculate it manually, but maybe we can write a small program to do this, which we can do it easily in our classical machines. So we have 18 different ways, we have 16 different ways, and we can calculate the configuration score. And suppose if I'm increasing it for the number of people now moves on to 100. So instead of 3, 4, we can calculate it using our classical machines. But if the number of people increase to 100 and instead of car, we can choose a bus there. So again, calculate, again, we have so many restrictions for friends and enemies allowed there. So we'll have 10 to the power 30 configurations. So that is 1 million configurations, which is very impossible for us to solve it using a regular computer. So which becomes a very hectic job if you're using a classical machine. But on a quantum machine, we'll see how is it possible. So solving the same problem with a quantum computer, here we are going to represent a bit in 2 different states at the same time. So if I'm using a single qubit where we have zeros and ones, it can at a particular time we know a bit takes the value of 0 and 1. Whereas a quantum bit can take the value of both 0 and 1 at the same time. If it is a 2-bit machine, we have in our classical machines, we can either be in 0, 0 or 0, 1 or 1, 0 or 1, 1. Whereas when I'm talking about a quantum bit, we can be in all these 4 states at the same time. So I can compute on 0, 0. I can also compute on 0, 1. I can also compute on 1, 0 and 1, 1 in a single run. So that is our idea here. So if it is a 3-bit machine, so if we are using 3 qubits, so we'll have all 2 to the power 3 ways from starting from 000 to 111, and we are going to compute on all these values in the same run. So we can easily calculate the configuration score for all 8 different values in a single run of a quantum program. So that is the idea of quantum computers, why we are moving from a classical machine to a quantum machine. So instead of computing values separately, so one run we'll get for 000, next run we'll get for 001, and like that we'll move on for 111 in a classical machine. But whereas when we are going to use a quantum machine, or we write a quantum program for solving this particular problem, we can solve it, we can run and find the configurations for all different ways in a single run of a quantum program. So it is something like you're computing it on parallel universes where you can be in state 0 and you can compute it on state 1 at the same time. So we are the same universe given in an ultra way. So compute on 0 and 1 at the same time. So coming here for a classical machine, for the problem which we gave just now, it takes around 10 to the power 30 operations for running it for 100 people for choosing the cars to travel. But whereas when we use a quantum machine, we can run it in 1 unit of time. That is, in one single run, we'll be able to find the solution for all the configurations, for all different 2 to the power 100 configurations. So we just need our time taken, or the amount of time we're going to run is 1. But we have some disadvantages of quantum machines. The idea is that they are prone to errors. So if I'm using a real quantum device, they are very noisy. Yes, you could have seen how a quantum computer will look like. My first slide was showing a machine, quantum machine. It is disturbed. It gets disturbed when it comes into normal thing. So they are prone to errors. So instead of finding the best solution, sometimes it might find the second best solution, the third best solution, and so on. So how can we solve this is you're going to run the same program for multiple iterations. So you instead of we'll be running it for 1024 shots, we can run it for 8882 shots. Like that, we can run out for n number of shots to get our best result from our answers. So you will probably want to run the same operation on a quantum computer dozens of times or hundreds of times, and then pick the best result out of the many results you get. So you can run it for more number of times and pick out the best results for making your experiment more worthy. So the first part which I've seen till now is why we are moving on to quantum machines. So why we are going to use a quantum system. The idea of parallelly we are going to compute on n values in a single run. So that was the use. So now the second part of my talk, I'm just going to move on to quantum circuits. We would have seen classical circuits actually. This is your irreversible AND gate, the classical AND gate which we have studied, which we would have studied normally. So it is my A and B which have been given as an input, and the output measured as A and B. So what I would like to say here is it is irreversible, meaning that I can walk from my inputs to my outputs, but we cannot get our answers from our output. We can't get our input. So for example, if the value of A and B was 0, we would not know what my A was and what B was. So that is a drawback of our classical systems. So since they are irreversible, we have loss of data here. I'm not able to retrieve my data from my output. So A and B are lost, and this loss is actually generated as a heat, and which is generated as an our devices get heat, right? So which leads to the long run of our devices. So loss of data leading to heat generates makes our devices fail. But moving on to a quantum machine, we'll be using reversible gates here. So reversible in the sense we have one-to-one mapping from input to output. So from A to A, we have A to B, and from 0, like we have, this is a 3-qubit system. I'll explain you more on using a demo here. So we have we measure A and B as an output here. So the idea is we are not going to lose our inputs once after getting our output. So reversible circuits are those circuits that do not lose information, and reversible circuits can generate a unique output vector from each input vector and vice versa. And in reversible circuits, there is a one-to-one mapping between input and output vectors. Our classical machines use irreversible circuits, whereas quantum computers use reversible circuits. So how to get started with to work on with real devices. When I started to work on quantum, I started in the year 2003, where I was not having any devices to work on. So initially, my research was on uh, theoretical part. So later on, we had simulators. So from year around 2009, quantum simulators came into play where we worked on. So we'll execute our circuits using simulators. But now I'm so happy that I'm able to work on run my program on a real quantum device. So that is the advantage. And I've seen this field grow from a kid to a very high, as you would have seen from our previous session, how what IBM is actually doing. There are so many other industries who are also working. So it's easy now, sitting in our machine, we can run on real quantum devices. So the idea is how to work using IBM's Qiskit. Running algorithms on a quantum computers, you have to follow the following steps. The first one, you have to pass a specified number of qubits into the system. So the first of all, you have to identify your circuit, how many qubits you're going to use in that particular circuit. And then we are going to apply a certain set of combination of quantum gates to make an algorithm. So whatever algorithm you're going to simulate, you'll be having a combination of a set of quantum gates which are available. You'll apply to the qubits which you have designed earlier. And then finally, you'll measure the qubits and store the results in classical bits. So the classical bit value, so we'll be having either written 0 or 1. Before moving on to my demo, let me just show you how a quantum circuit will look like. So this is a quantum circuit where we have 4 qubits, and your C indicates that this is classical bits, and this 2 indicates there are 2 classical bits here. So I have Q0, Q1, Q2, and Q3. These are our qubits we are applying, and this is actually, so it's a 4 qubit system, a 4 qubits quantum circuit where we are applying quantum gates. So X is a quantum gate, this is a C0 gate, and this is CC not gate, which is also called as control not gate. They do some operations. We'll be looking on these gates a little bit later. And this symbol, this line is actually which indicates a barrier, which shows that a separation. So this is my input. We are doing some process, and the final one is your measurement. So these two are your measurements. We are measuring qubit 2 and storing it in classical bit 0, and we are measuring qubit 3 and storing it in classical bit 1. So the same circuit. So each of these lines represents 1 qubit. And this is my double line, which indicates the classical bits. This 2 means that there are 2 classical bits. And there are some circuits, there are some things, they use 2 separate lines. Just you have seen here quantum bits. We also have 2 separate lines shown here, which represents the classical bits. And these are our 1 qubit and multi-qubit gates, which are available for quantum. And this goes for our measurement. So at a particular state, your qubit can be in 0, or it can be in 1, or it can be anywhere between 0 and 1. But when we make a measurement, we'll either land up in 0 or 1. So the state collapsing, and we are going to store the result in a classical bit for further computations. So representing qubit states. So here, as I said, we can be in any state, either in anywhere between. This is a block sphere, which is being shown on the right of my screen. So there are 3 different bases here. We have the Z basis, where we store values in terms of zeros and ones, the state vectors. The eigenstates are 0 and 1. We have an X basis where we store it in state plus and state minus. The plus is actually denoted using we read it as 0 plus 1 divided by root 2, and your minus state the reverse direction, which we have it as 0 minus 1 divided by root 2. And on the Y basis, we have it as 0 plus I 1 divided by root 2 and 0 minus I divided by root 2. So qubits could be represented using 2D vectors, where this theta and phi are actually your real numbers. So anywhere here you can have a valid state of a qubit at any particular time. So representing it using a valid state Q is written as cos theta by 2 0 plus e power I phi sin theta by 2 1. Your theta and phi are real numbers, and they represent the amplitude and the phase angles. So theta represents the amplitude and phi represents the phase, sign directions, and so on. So the computational basis in the previous screen where we had the Z basis, which I told you, we use 0 and 1, they form an orthonormal basis here, and we are going to represent a valid state using these two states, 0 and 1 if I'm using an X basis. If we are using X basis, we'll be having it in state plus and state minus, where plus is denoted using a superposition state for 1 by root 2, 0 plus 1, and minus is denoted by 1 by root 2, 0 minus 1. And we also have your I basis. Most commonly, we use Z basis and X basis for our programs. Y is also used. And where we have your clockwise and anti-clockwise rotations, where a state I is represented by 1 by root 2, 0 plus I1, and minus I is represented by 1 by root 2, 0 minus I1. You could just note down these values. We'll be seeing how to obtain these states using our quantum gates later on. So the next part of my talk is how are we going to run it out. So the idea is before we can measure any results, we have to actually set up the circuit. So that we call it as build phase. So identify the number of qubits in your circuit, apply the quantum gates, and build up your circuit. So that is your first phase. The second part is you'll be running this experiment, you'll be running your algorithm using a quantum computer. Either you can use simulators or you can use real quantum devices. So that we call it as execute phase. So there are two things. The first phase is your build phase where you build your circuit, and the second phase where you're going to execute your circuit on a real device or on a simulators. So simulators are actually, they are very quicker and they produce perfect results using various backend simulators. IBM Qiskit supports various backend simulators. When we are using a simulator, we are not going to use a real device. This works on our machine, on our classical machine itself. So sitting now in your room, at your home or in your workplace, you can work on real quantum devices. You can choose various simulators which you want and so on. Or you can run.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes, Nandana.
Ma'am, can you please slow down a bit, ma'am? Like you're a
Yes.
bit fast.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. And you can also use real quantum computers, which are actually noisy, meaning that they don't always produce the right results. So we have to run our experiments multiple times to determine the correct outcome. So we are going to run, I'll be showing you a demo for running on simulators and on real quantum devices. So simulators will produce us perfect results, whereas real devices are noisy. We will not get the right results every time. So the idea is you have to run your experiment, the same experiment multiple times to get the correct outcome. So this is what we'll be seeing when we are showing a demo. So as I said, there are various backends which Qiskit supports. So I can represent a qubit state using a state vector representation, a block sphere representation, a Q-sphere representation, unitary representation, and open QSM representation. So before moving further, let me show you a demo of IBM Qiskit and I'll show you what they are. So this is a site where you can create your user ID to work on IBM quantum machines. So if you are new to the first time, if you're going to use this for the first time, you can create an IBM ID account, which is actually freely available for anyone who are interested to work on quantum systems. So you can create a new IBM ID here by clicking on it. For today's session, I'll be just logging on with my ID for you. So we'll see how to work on simulators or real devices actually. So when you log in, your name will be displayed here. You have an API token which will show you the account details on which you're working on. And these are the services which you have and the number of jobs which you have submitted and so on. So the reservations, if you're having any system which are reserved for your hub, you can access them over here. And so there are two parts over here. The one is the composer part and the lab part. So let me start with the composer here. So composer is for anyone who's starting on to work on quantum systems for the first time. It's easy for you if you work on quantum things. So let me start off with our AND gate. So as I showed you there in my PPT, we were having an AND gate over there. So this is the same thing which I'm showing you here. So I'll just show what is this actually, what is this circuit for. So this is a 3-qubit system. There I have qubit 0, qubit 1, and qubit 2, which are your quantum bits. And this is your classical bit C3, indicating that there are 3 classical bits. So I would also like to add on, these are various quantum gates which are available. So we have some gates available on top, which you can use them. So this is your circuit page where you can drag and drop your drag and drop your gates to develop your circuit. And the bottom part displays our qubits in various different representations. So this is our probability, the output measure which we're going to have. This is your Q sphere representation, and this is your state vector representation of a particular state. So initially, let me have, say, for example, if my input is 0, 0, say if your qubit Q0 is 0, your qubit Q1 is 1, your output is also going to be 0. I hope you know AND gate. So if when our input is 0, 0, output is going to be 0. So 0, 0, your output is 0. If I want to add my input, I want to change, say for example, I want to give 1, 0, my output is again going to be 0. In Qiskit, we will read this right end as your qubit 0. The second one is your qubit 1, and the last one is your qubit 2. So you could say that this Q0 is actually, I'm applying an X gate over here, which is your NOT gate. So NOT, the idea of your NOT gate is your classical NOT gate, which inverts this. So if your input is 0, we will have 1 over there. So it converts 0 to 1. So my initially, my qubit 0 will land up in 1, and your qubit 1 is actually in state 0, and your qubit 2. So the output of qubit 2, what we'll have, if I have 1, 0 as my input, my output is also going to be 0. So we could read out the value as 100, so which is the answer here. So we could say at 100% probability, my state at the end is going to be 001. So this is the same state 001 represented using a Q sphere representation, and this is represented using a state vector representation for a qubit 001. So a state vector representation, we normally represent it using a complex number notation, a plus b I, and as we know, Python uses j over there, so we have a plus 0j, which is represented here. So this is a state vector representation, and the right portion is your OpenQASM code, which is auto-generated and which is dynamically generated actually. So if I change something, if I add another NOT gate here, so you could see it is updated dynamically. So this is your header file which you include. So here we have a quantum circuit where we have 3 quantum registers and we have 3 classical registers. So C REG indicates it's a classical register, Q REG indicates that this is a quantum register. I'm applying X gate on qubit 0 and X gate on qubit 1, and there is another gate called as CCX gate where we are applying it on qubit 0, qubit 1, and qubit 2. So this is what is happening here. So now our input is 1, 1, and the output is going to be, what is our output? When our input is 1, 1 to an AND gate, we want the output to be 1. So when both are true, our result is also going to be true. Now we could see the probability of measuring the state 1, 1, 1 is 100% probability that we are in this particular state. Similarly, you can look into your state vector representation of 111 and using a histogram plot or using your state vector representations. And this is the representation which we have used using your QSphere. You can download it, you can use it for your papers, you can take these images as your output and so on. So this is how you actually work on. And you could also inspect your circuit. So I could see, I can run and show you how it works. So initially we are in state, we started off with 0, 0, 0, and now your qubit 0 is 1. So we have shown it here. So it is 1. And then moving on to the next one. So we have now your qubit 1 is also on 1. So we'll have 1, 1, 0. So your state vector is now moved on to 1. We'll read it from the right end actually. So we'll read it as 1, 1, 0. And then now moving on, applying CC NOT gate. What is the CC NOT gate does? I'll show you. I'll tell you a little bit later. So here I have 1, 1, and it does some operation to it, and my state, my third qubit 3 is now inverted to 1. So this is where we measure our output. So I can add a measurement here. So we are done with this. So I'm just stopping my inspector. And I'm going to add a measurement at the end of my circuit. So I'll add a measurement over here. So now, we can, so you could see this also, we are measuring qubit 2 and storing it in classical bit 2. And I could run the circuit using simulator or using real devices. So it is just a drag and drop of all the gates which you want to build up your circuit. So you can drag whatever gauge you want based upon the algorithm which you're going to simulate or run. So you're implementing. So do that and then use a setup and run function where you will be shown all the devices which are actually available, which IBM allows for normal people to work on. So this, when you create your own ID, you will have a set of simulators or real systems which are available for us. So there are many systems, and you could see they are online, and there are pending jobs which are available. And as Venkat was speaking, he was he was talking about the quantum volume which this particular system right now supports, and the number of qubits. So quantum systems are actually built using the available number of qubits and the quantum volume which it can support. So these are other various systems which are available. So we have real devices and we also have simulators with us. So the other simulators which are actually available. So let me now choose a simulator and run the circuit. So let me use QASM simulator in this here, and I'm just choosing it. And as I was speaking, we are going to run the same circuit for n number of shots. For why are we increasing the number of shots is because when I'm going to run for just one single run, we'll not get our outputs correctly, because every time due to noise, there are so many researches which is taking place on quantum error free actually. So error is actually a very big issue in quantum devices. So we are running the same experiment for number of shots. Increase your number of shots, and you can give a name to it. So I'm just giving the IC demo 1, and I'm going to run it on a real, or I'm going to run it using a simulator here. So I'm just going on to look into my output of the thing. Let's see how we are going to get our output for our. So this is our job result which we got from our simulator. So the time and the number of jobs, number of circuits, and all those things we displayed, and at what time we submitted. And internally, Qiskit does some transpiling operations. So what do we mean by transpiling is, this is, I'll just tell you one. So this was our original circuit. So what do we mean by transpilation is it will actually replace it with cost reduced gates. So quantum gates are costly actually, as we saw for a multiplying two numbers, the time taken for running on a quantum machine is actually more comparing to a classical system. So why? Because this gate cost is actually high when we are talking about a quantum machine. So transpiled circuit here, we don't have any transpilation because it's the same circuit here. So transpilation is actually done internally by Qiskit for reducing the time taken for executing. So the output which we are going to measure is we have, so as I said, we'll be having 0, 0, 1. So the output is for when we give 1, 1, the output is 1. Actually, why it is 0, 0? Because we have inverted it. Initially, we started with 0, 0. We have applied an X gate, converting it to 1, 1, and then measure. So this is how you execute it on a simulator. You can also execute using your real devices by again using there. You can choose a machine and run it. Time will take, it will take some amount of time for executing on real devices. Later on, I can show you a demo where I've executed a job earlier and how the result we have got. Do you have any questions till now? So if not, the next part of my circuit, the next part of my presentation. Sorry, it is taking some time for loading. Yeah. The next part of my talk is, so till now what we saw is how to store, how to represent a qubit and how we can run it on simulators and on real devices, how to build up a circuit. And as I was showing you the various gates which are available in the composer. So we'll be looking into some quantum gates which are available. So we have the first gate which we have is this is again which I was talking in my how to represent a qubit in a computational basis states. So 0, 1 we have, the other one is plus and minus. So your plus state and minus state which we normally use will have be represented using 1 by root 2 0 plus 1, and your minus state is represented using 1 by root 2 0 minus 1. Your I is your clockwise rotation and minus I is your anti-clockwise rotation, which is represented using these two states. These four values are important to work on actually. So if you're interested to further down work on quantum systems, please, I want all of you to note down these four values, because I'll be using I. State I means it is actually 1 by root 2 0 plus I1. If I say state minus I, it is 1 by root 2 0 minus 1. So this is what we mean. So I want, because in the next part of my talk, we'll be applying your X gate, your Y gate, the various other quantum gates for state 0, state 1, state plus, state minus, state I, and state minus I. So plus means what? It is this state, like that. We just want these values to work on. So when we are, what is this X gate? X gate is actually your classical NOT gate, which does a bit flip for us. So if I'm in state 0, it will invert it to 1. So that is what your X gate is going to do. Similar, the matrix representation for X gate is 0, 1 and 1, 0. And when we apply X gate on various different states, we'll get a set of answers, which we can use it for calculations. You can apply it on your algorithms for working on with various other implementations when you're working. Next is we have your Y gate. So Y gate again, it does some operation. So we'll be looking on how to apply Y on 0, what we will get Y on 1, Y on plus, Y on minus, Y on I, and Y on minus I. There is another gate called as Hadamard gate. We call it as H gate, a most important gate in quantum systems. The reason because Hadamard gate is the one which is going to generate your plus and minus states. So it is actually, this is the gate which allows, or which puts a qubit in a superposition state. So when I apply h on 0, when I apply x on 0, my value is going to be 1. We'll be representing using get bracket notations here. And but when I apply h on 0, we'll get a plus state. Your plus state is 1 by root 2, 0 plus 1, meaning that 50% of time you are in state 0 and 50% of the time you are in state 1. So I am in both my states 0 and 1 at the same time. So that is the idea of quantum devices, where you can compute on 0 and 1 at the same in the same run actually. So if I'm going to have a 2-qubit machine, we'll have combinations of 0 0, 0 1, 1 0 and 1 1. So we can compute on all the 4 values in the same run of our program. So that is the advantage of using quantum devices. So our travel agency problem, we can compute on all 2 to the power 100 values in one single run. But only thing which we have to do is increase your runs. Then the same experiment has to be run for more number of shots for getting out accurate results. So having done with this particular slide, we have some more gates called as Z gate and S gate, and I'll be showing you a demo of how to work on with these gates actually. So let me finish off my PPT and then I'll move on to my demo, because switching is taking time for me. So the next part of my talk is, as seen, single qubit gates. We'll be moving on to multi-qubit gates. So single qubit gate has only 2 values, so we'll have 0 and 1. But when we are talking about the 2-qubit system, we'll be having on all the 4 possible states are 0 0, 0 1, 1 0 and 1 1. So a particular valid state is, we can have a qubit A, state A can be represented using A0 0 0 0 plus A0 1 0 1 plus A1 0 1 0 plus A1 1 1. And as we saw earlier, the sum of the squares of my amplitudes should sum up to 1. That is the only restriction for a valid state, valid qubit actually, valid quantum state. So we'll be computing on all these values at the same time. So there are various different multiple qubit gates which Qiskit supports, which actually quantum devices support actually. The first one is your CNOT gate, controlled NOT gate, which is also called as Feynman gate. So what does this gate do is, we have 2 lines over here. So the first, on top we have the control qubit, and on the bottom we have the target qubit. So what does this do is, if your control qubit value is 1, if this value is 1, my target qubit value will be flipped. Flipped in the sense, if it was 0, it will turn to 1. If it was 1, it will turn to 0. So this will only invert when my Q0 was 1. So this is a combination for this is the if this is 0 0 0 1 1 0 and 1 1. So 0 0 means your top bit is 0, your bottom bit is also 0. So we are not going to have any change. So my answer is going to be 1. 1 in the sense, we'll be having 0 0 here. So if my input is 0 0, my output is going to be 0 0. If my input is 0 1, my output is going to be 0 1. If my input is 1 0, my output is going to be 1 1. So when I pass 1 0 as your input, your answer is going to be 1 1. Stating that the top qubit is 1 means the bottom qubit was 0, so it gets inverted. So 1 0, when your input is 1 0, your output will be 1 1. When your input is 1 1, your output will be 1 0. So that is what I would like to say here. So this is a gate which is used for creating entanglement between 2 qubits. As Venkat was speaking in the morning, we can be in 2 different universes. One qubit can be in this universe and another qubit can be on another universe. So sitting in this particular universe, if I'm able to measure this qubit, I could predict what is the state of the other qubit in the other universe. So that is what the quantum mechanics principles work. So entanglement is something like, sitting here, we could easily identify what's the state of the other qubit on the other universe. So the next quantum multi-qubit gates is your swap gate, where I can interchange the values of Q0 and Q1. So we'll change. So Q0 is where after. So if this was 1 and if this was 0, after running this particular circuit, I have this to be 0 and this to be 1. So this is your swap gate, and this is the matrix representation of swap gate. Next, controlled NOT gate, or we also call this gate as Toffoli gate. This was a gate which was used in our classical implementation of classical AND gate. It works similarly to your C0 gate, which where we had one control. Here we are going to have two controls. So when when your controls are one, your target will be flipped. So when I have 1, 1, my output will be, this particular qubit will be inverted. So we'll not have any change for any of these values, because 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, 0, 0, 1, 0, 1, they all remain the same. But when my first two qubits are 0, the third qubit will be flipped. So if it was 1, 1, 0, my output will be 1, 1, 1. If my input was 1, 1, 1, my output will be 1, 1, 0. So I hope you would have understood this. So this is 1, 1. If this was 0, my output will be 1, 1, 1. And when my input was 1, 1, 1, my output will be 1, 1, 0. Okay, so this is how your CC0 gate works. So for going back into our AND gate, so when both was 1, the third qubit which we gave the input was 0, so it is now inverted to 1. So when both are 1, we'll have the answer as 1. But any one is 0, we'll have the answer as, this will remain unflipped. This will remain unaltered. So if this is 0, 0, my output is 0. If this is 0, 1, my output is 0. If this is 1, 0, my output is 0. If it is 1, 1, output is 1. So that is how your AND gate was actually working in the demo part of our composer. So next is quantum entanglement. This is a circuit which is used for creating an entanglement pair, or we call it as EPR pairs or Bell states. EPR stands for Einstein, Podolsky, and Roshan, named behind the authors. So the circuit for implementing quantum entanglement is you apply Hadamard gate on qubit 0, and then you apply a CNOT gate on qubit 0 and qubit 1. This is your control and this is your target, which is represented in this gate. So this gate, and we'll have the various different combinations of whenever our input is, if I'm having my input as 0, 0, I'll get 1 by root 2, 0, 0 plus 1, 1. And if it is 0, 1, so for various inputs, our truth table will be like this. We'll see it later. This is your entanglement circuit and the truth table for it. Next is the GHZ circuit, named after the authors Greenberger, Horn, and Zillinger. So this is a circuit for generating a GHZ circuit. Ignore the first part. These are your inputs. So a Hadamard gate. It's actually a GHZ circuit. This is actually an example of 3-qubit GHZ circuit. So we can actually go for 4-qubit GHZ, 5-qubit GHZ, and so on. So it can be increased depending upon the number of circuits which you're going to have, and you can add on to it. So let me move on to the demo part, and I'll show you how to work with these circuits. One second, one second. So this time, instead of composer, I'll show you these things. The same thing we can actually do it in the composer also, but I'll also show to you using our lab. So where we will actually write Python code for executing our experiments. Any doubts, anyone? Till it gets loaded.
Everyone, you're gonna use IBM's Qiskit and this quantum experience to work with your project. So if you have any doubts, You can ask ma'am at any point of time. You can stop her and ask. Thank you.
We want all your projects to be worked using IBM Qiskit. That is the only constraint we are having. So you can choose any project, you can work on anything. There are so many ideas which we have posted in Discord and in Hive. You can refer to them and check. So my first part, so we'll be looking into single qubit gates and how to work them. The same part we saw using Composer, and now we are going to use Quantum Lab for executing them. So as I've already told you, this is a valid state single qubit gates. We are using Jupyter Notebook here for executing our code. And I hope you know how to run a particular cell. You have to press Shift plus Enter for executing a shell. So starting off, these are the imports is my size visible, or do you want me to increase? Nandana?
Ma'am, you can choose the presentation mode from view menu so that it will be slightly bigger.
For this particular portion, I can increase my screen size, font size. I think now it will be visible to you.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So these are the things which we want actually. So from Qiskit import star, and if you want, I can upload this particular lab contents also in our Discord for you people to use. So I've just imported some things which we need. So a quantum circuit, a quantum register, classical register, and for executing it on real machines, we have execute basic R and so on. So moving down and just execute this prediction. And then we are going to create a quantum circuit of 1 qubit over here. So the first part represents a quantum bit. So the number of quantum bits. And I'm drawing this particular circuit using the draw function. And I'm passing my parameter as MPL within quotes. Stands for matplotlib. So MPL over there. So since we have just started our circuit, we don't have anything here. So I'm just executing it, and I will only get that particular Q over there. And next is to display the output using your state vector representation. We are importing state vector representation and storing it in a variable called as SV. And I'm displaying the output over here. So if you could see here, this is actually initially when we started, we are in state 0. So state 0 means it is actually your 1, 0. We are representing it using your state vector representation, where you represent using a complex number notation, A plus B, I notation form. And as you all know, Python uses J instead of I. So we have 1 plus 0J and 0 plus IJ. This indicates that we are in state 0. Okay. So the data part, we can also represent it using your array notation. So you will get this value. So it is 1 plus 0J plus 0 plus 0J. And we all know that the state 0 is actually represented using 1, 0. And now I'm just going to show the same thing using your Q-sphere representation. So for Q-sphere representation, we are going to use plot states Q-sphere over there. And then you could see the output is your state 0, as we saw in our PPT, that the state 0 is represented as an upward arrow actually. Okay, so now we can actually, I'm now applying it. So we have a quantum circuit of 1 qubit. I'm applying X gate, where when in our Composer it was just a drag and drop, but when you are writing your code, you will write it as my circuit dot X of 0, and you will have it here. The gate will come over here, and you could see the output. So now it is actually the state 1 which is represented. So we have 0 plus 0J comma 1 plus 0J. So we have inverted it. So from 0 it has now moved to state 1. So this is your state vector representation here. And you could see your output on Q-sphere. So my Q sphere output will look like, so this is your state 1 represented in a Q sphere. The next part, I'm actually moving on to your Hadamard gate. So where I said we can be, so earlier now we saw a Q sphere representation of state 0, Q sphere representation of state 1. Now we are moving on to show how I can store 0 plus 1, that is on our X basis. So X basis is we are going to apply a Hadamard gate on qubit on our state 0. So we are here, I'm writing the code like we are starting off with a state vector initially, that is we have a quantum circuit. We are starting it from state 0. I'm applying Hadamard gate on it and I'm drawing my circuit. So this is how your circuit will look like. So we have 0, applying a H gate onto our circuit. I'm now looking on to my Q sphere representation of it. 1 second, it is execute. The star indicates that this particular shell is under execution. So when I get a number over here, it means that execution is over. So here, this is a state where we are in both 0 and 1 at the same time. So imagine if it is a single qubit, I'm in both 0 and 1 at the same time, executing in both 0 and 1. If I'm in a 3 qubit machine, I'll be on all 2 to the power 3, that is 8 different ways. At the same time, I can compute on all the values and find out the answers. So this is what we got here. And next is if I want to go for 1 by root 2 0 minus 1, where I'm going to have a phase change over on my minus sign. So how we could obtain this is you will actually start from 0 and then you will invert it. So now I want X gate to be applied on qubit 0 and then apply a Hadamard gate. So H gate, when I apply it on 1, I'll get 0 minus 1 divided by root 2. I'll repeat once again. H gate, when you apply it on the state 0, you will get 0 plus 1 divided by root 2. But when you apply H on the value state 1, you will get 0 minus 1 divided by root 2. So for that, so I'm now, my code is now changed to. So this is my code. I'm creating a quantum circuit of 1. So my circuit is equivalent to call your quantum circuit function 1 quantum bit actually applying X gate. So now initial state was 0. Now we have inverted it. So this state becomes 1. And then we are applying Hadamard gate, which we call it using your H gate. And we are printing it using your Q sphere representation. And we could see our output will be 1 by root 2 0 minus 1. So that is we have a phase change over here. Earlier it was in blue color, now it is in some yellow color sort of thing. So it is 0 minus 1 divided by root 2. So you could also imagine a qubit state is represented using your phase change also. It is not just positive states. We also have various different combinations actually. So computing on all these values will actually give us very good results. So this is, so having seen how to apply X gate, the next part which we saw was how to apply Hadamard gate using your code. And the next part of my talk is I'm just taking you to just take one Y gate. So Y on 0, Y on 1, Y on plus, Y on minus, Y on I, and Y on minus I. So how we can move on? So getting plus itself, I just want starting from 0, we have to apply a H gate and then we'll apply a Y gate to obtain this particular state, isn't it? So that is what we are going to see. If you are not able to follow, no issues. It is actually, I'll be actually sharing this in our Discord. So we are going to create a quantum circuit of 1, applying Y. So this is for applying Y gate on stage 0. What do we want? We want I1 to be answer. So you could see your state vector value. You could also represent it using block sphere. This is Q sphere. You can also write code for representing the output in block sphere. You can also go for representing outputs in unitary representations or also on QASM representations. There are various representations which are available, which Qiskit supports us. So most commonly we use Q sphere and block sphere representations and state vector representations of your output. So this is a state when we applied Y on 0. So next is applying Y gate on 1. So I'm just inverting it first. So starting with state 0, inverting it by applying X gate, and then I apply Y gate. So go for Y on 1. So this is the state which you will get when you apply Y on 1 here. Similarly, Y on plus. So like that, I'll just go on. So this is your Y on plus. So for plus, I want Hadamard gate to be applied, and then we apply Y gate over. And drawing it using Q-Sphere. So Y on I, Y on minus I, and so on. So Y on minus I. So this is I'm using S gate over here to get my minus I state, and then applying finally your Y gate, and your result will be like this. So there are various phase changes which we have. So just you can look into the Qiskit textbook also for various contents for related to single qubit gates, which is available. And you can use your IBM Composer also to work on with single qubit gates. Just drag and drop your gate and you could see your outputs. It is easy to look into your representations using over there. And then we have our multi-qubit gates. I told you the base state, the APR pair, which we can create using a quantum entanglement circuit. So I'm starting with state 0, 0, and I want this particular state to be created. That is 1 by root 2, 0, 0 plus 1, 1. So this is the state which we want to create. So the circuit for it is, as we have seen already, we are going to take a quantum circuit of 2 qubits. So quantum circuit of 2, apply Hadamard gate on qubit 0, apply CX gate goes for your C0 gate on qubit 0, 1, and we are drawing the circuit here. So this is our Bell circuit. So applying Hadamard gate on qubit 0, applying CX gate on qubit 0, 1, and we get this. So the output is 0, 0 plus 0, 1, the whole divided by root 2. So we could see we are in the state 0, 0 and 1, 1, but your 1, 0 and 1, 0, 1, 0 and 0, 1 are in the state 0 here. Okay, so this is what we have in an entanglement state. So this is I'm running it for 1000 shots. I'm printing my output using histogram representations. So where we could see we are for 1000 shots, we are nearly around nearer to 500 times I'm in state 0, 0, or 500 times I'm in state in 1, 1. But for 1, 0 and 1, 1, we don't have any answers. When we make a measurement, so how are we going to make a measurement? We have a slight change in our circuit. You'll also add your classical bits to your circuit. So till now we were adding only quantum bits. So the first value is your qubit and the second value is your classical bit. So we are going to build a quantum circuit where we have 2 quantum bits and 2 classical bits. So applying Hadamard gate on qubit 0, applying CX gate on qubit 0, 1, and I'm measuring quantum bit 0 and storing it in classical bit 0, measuring quantum bit 1 and storing it in classical bit 1. This is a line for measurement actually, and we are drawing a circuit. So you could see the measurement part is added to our circuit. So H gate is applied on qubit 0, C0 gate is applied on C0, 1. Measure your qubit 0 and qubit 1 and proceed with it. And you can run this experiment using your real devices. So you can, this portion of the code was choosing QSM simulator for running it at the backend. As my backend, we are choosing this, and since it is a simulator, I'm also giving I'm executing it. My circuit is a circuit name which we created before. We are running it using QSM simulator, which is given in this particular variable, and we are running it for 10,000 shots, and I'm executing it. And I'm getting the number of values which we got and the counts, and we plotted using a histogram. So you could see your value 0, 0, 1, 1. So you could run your experiment via simulators, or you can also use your real devices for executing it. So by this, we actually proceed on to create other similar states also. So the question is, can you create this particular state? So this is a question which I want you guys to explore and create this particular bit state. So I want you to create 1 by root 2 0 1 plus 1 0. I showed you the code for 1 by root 2 0 0 plus 1 1. Similar procedures you can create the PPT where we had all the 4 bit states you can actually create. Okay. So this is one portion of my entanglement circuit which I thought of showing. Any doubts, anybody? This is GHZ circuit actually. So I'll just walk through the code. So import whatever things you want, and you can just move on actually. This is a code for creating, it's a very simple circuit. We may not worry about it actually. We are giving for all combinations. So taking a 3-qubit GHZ circuit. So 0 0 0 0 0 1 1 0 0, all combinations we want. So for that, we are for various and for 0 0 0 what your output is and what is the output for 0 0 1 and so on. So this is for 0 0 0. This is for 0 0 1. This particular code will take on values for all different combinations. So just a for loop is added using Python code and we get the values here, which is plotted for all different answers. So this is how it can work. So one idea is you can also create education materials for teaching quantum to beginners, where you can create your own contents for how you can take it to your younger generation, to the next generation, or people who are working, maybe to high school students and so on. So I think I could stop my session. If you're having any doubts in any demo part, if you want, I could also show. I'll just show you one part. The job submissions, which I'll show you one demo of which I ran yesterday. I can show you how the output will look like. And there are many challenges which do take place all over the year. Actually, there is another challenge which is yet to come at the end of October. If you are new to Quizlet, I would say participate in those challenges where you learn more actually. So the idea is you will learn only when you people work on your real challenges. So the challenges are really the questions are there are so many GitHub repositories where you can get the answers for previous challenges which are available. So you could look into them and you can also participate in the forthcoming challenges where you can connect with all quantum people and work on. There is an entire very big community of people working on quantum. So this was the job which I actually executed it earlier. I could show you how it actually worked. This was for running an OR gate, implementing a classical OR gate using a quantum system. So this is output actually. So when your inputs we want it is for output is for 0. I have all the 4 outputs. So this is a circuit actually for implementing OR gate, and this is a QSM code which is auto generated for us. The quantum the QSM code, and this is a Qiskit code which is generated here. So this also you could also take and you can work on. This is for simulating your OR gate. I have the various job results for 0 0 0 1 1 0 and 1 1. So submitting them as 4 different jobs and finding out for various 4 different inputs. So you could check out with these things. So coming to the end of my talk, if you're having any doubts, you could ask me. So this is the GHZ circuit. Once again. So just a recap of what we have done. So, so we saw the advantages of a quantum machine is you can compute on all values in the same in a single run. Instead of running it for one value at a particular time, you can use a quantum machine to compute on all different values at the same time. But the drawback is your measurement will only result one value for you. The second part of my talk was quantum circuits are reversible in nature, whereas our classical circuits are irreversible. And we saw how to work using IBM's Qiskit Composer and the lab portions. There are various backends which are available, and some contents based on the single qubit gates which are available to us, your X gate, your Y gate, your Z gate, S gate. The H gate is most important one. And the next part was we were looking into some of the multi-qubit gates which are available, your C0 gate, your CC0 gate, your CZ gate, your SWAT gate, and so on. And the next we saw two sample circuits, one for generating quantum entanglement between two qubits, and another one, the second part was to create a GHZ circuit. There are so many applications which are valuable, which we could use them for solving our problems on a quantum machines using quantum entanglement, your quantum GHZ circuit, and so on. And we also saw how to run our experiments using our simulators which are available, and we can also use and run it on real quantum devices. And you can submit a live job to the quantum hubs, which quantum servers which are available, and you can get your jobs done. So by this, I'm actually stopping off my session. So some of the references, this is a textbook which I started off to learn from 2003, a textbook which is a very good one, but very difficult to understand actually. But now I started using the Qiskit textbook actually, which is available. It's an open source textbook. And this is a textbook which as we have translated this textbook to Tamil language actually. So if you people are interested to read Qiskit textbook in Tamil, it is actually done by the entire team of CIT. We have our students and faculty members working on this particular project actually. So if you're interested, please do. We have shared it in Discord and in Hive, the link for Qiskit textbook in Tamil. You can have a read. And you can reach me at my mail ID or via LinkedIn. And thank you all for connecting. I hope you enjoyed the session. You got something out of my session. And please keep learning, keep exploring, and enjoy learning. Thank you once again from my side. Over to you, Nandana. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. So, participants, please feel free to put in your queries so that we can ask ma'am. So, ma'am, we do have a question from Akwil Ahmed. So, what is the difference between Quasm code and a Qiskit code?
Qiskit code is actually the Jupyter notebook file, which I showed you, right? I showed you a demo where the code was written by us. But when I'm running it using a composer, you can take it out. This is another version of your code generator. You can use either QSM code or your code. The Qiskit code, which you can use it and run it using a Jupyter lab, using a lab.
Thank you, ma'am. So, are there any other questions? So I'd like to remind again that IBM's Qiskit you'll be using IBM's Qiskit in your project. So feel free to ask any questions. And these are the basics to get started with Qiskit and regarding circuits and gates. So the forthcoming sessions will be briefing about quantum machine learning mechanics, uncertainty principle, and the quantum cryptography. So which will be very useful when you create when you are brewing your ideas or working with your hackathon projects. So please do join in the forthcoming sessions. So are there any other questions? I think that's it, ma'am. So thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you once again for taking the effort of imparting your knowledge to us. And thank you for sharing your experience also. So participants, it's a kind reminder that if you have any issues or doubts regarding this event, or the further events, please do let us know. The next session is at 2 p.m. The session is about brief introduction to quantum mechanics and uncertainty principle by Jayesh Parasha sir. So we'll be posting the link to the recordings of this session in Hype and Discord. So those who have not joined, or if you have any queries or doubts, you can refer to the link posted there. So in case if you missed any part of it, the slides and the link will be posted in Discord and Hype. So thank you for connecting with us. Have a great day ahead, and please do join for the next sessions. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Nanda.